Make it 3 in a row for the Vancouver Canucks, taking down the New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden as they kick off a 4-game road trip. A little streak in the works for the Vancouver Canucks as they take on the lowly Devils tomorrow. Maybe some potential to get a little bit of a run going. I hope you guys enjoyed the game. I sure did. As always, we'll break it down for you step by step. I'll give you my thoughts of the game. I'll give you a hint. There's not very many minuses and there are quite a few pluses as a pretty solid win from the Vancouver Canucks. First period was a little shaky, but they came out in the second and put it basically to bed. Made it a little interesting late, but they hang on for the 5-2 victory over the New York Rangers. So it is Thatcher Demko in goal for the Vancouver Canucks. It is Alexander Georgiev in net for the Rangers, which is good for the Canucks because Shesterkin is like 25-5-3 or something along those lines. I think maybe he won yesterday, or did they lose yesterday 1-0 or something like that? I don't know. He's basically unbeatable. He's got like a .940 save percentage. Georgiev, on the other hand, not so much, more in the 880s, 890s, somewhere along there. So the Canucks should be able to go in and maybe get some work done. And Thatcher Demko is put to work early. He robs Zibanejad early with a cross crease pad save. And then Tanner Pearson, going the other way, just 3 minutes into this game, has the shift of his life. He comes in, his first shot, he misses the net. He gets a second opportunity. It's a dangerous chance and a good save by Georgiev. And then he holds the line, plays it down low, keeps the puck in the offensive zone. JT Miller with a great pass to find him, and Tanner Pearson beats Georgiev this time, and it is 1-0 Canucks, his 10th of the season. And then the Rangers keep coming. Chris Kreider robbed for the first time of many on a nice little backhand play. Demko gets the pad down, glove in position to keep it a 1-0 game. Canucks get their first kill of the game on a Luke Schendeléve game. Kreider again robbed cross crease pass, so a solid kill there. And the Canucks are back to the kill because Podkolzin takes a tripping penalty. And then for the third time this period, Chris Kreider is robbed by Thatcher Demko. The left pad this time, an unreal save. And then he makes another great save as time is about to expire on the power play. It's Keandre Miller with a good chance, but he is denied as well. And then the Canucks go the other way. JT Miller plays it across to Tyler Myers, who finally gets his first goal this season in something like 54 games or however many it has been. And the Canucks get off to a 2-0 lead to end the first period. Shots in the first period for the Vancouver Canucks, 11 for the New York Rangers, 13, which doesn't tell the whole story. You look at that and you think, okay, it's a pretty even first period. But Thatcher Demko was the difference in that first period. The New York Rangers had so many high danger chances. 3 from Chris Kreider alone. Keandre Miller had that one. They were credited per natural stat trick with 9 high danger scoring chances in the first period alone. That is not very like 9 in a game would be a pretty mediocre game for a team. 9 in a period is unreal, and Thatcher Demko stops them all. So we go to the second period and the Canucks start strong. That grinder line, the motto line, as it seems to have been named. They get on the board first. It's Luke Schenn with a point shot, a great tip by John Pond, Juho Lammikko, over the shoulder of Georgiev, and it's 3-0 Canucks. The Rangers get a chance halfway through, and this time it's Chris Kreider for the 4th time high danger scoring chance on a breakaway this time, and Demko shuts him down with the blocker. Another Rangers power play that gets killed off well, and then Elias Pettersson gets held. Canucks go to their first power play, and it is dominant. They keep the puck in the offensive zone the whole time. There's about a 1 minute and 50-second stretch before a whistle where the Canucks just are set up in the offensive zone. The Rangers are clearly exhausted. Canucks don't capitalize until after the whistle, and it's an Oliver Ekman-Larsson shot that gets tipped in by Matthew Highmore, his 3rd of the season on the power play. And it is 4-0 Vancouver as we end the second period. Shots 15-6 in favor of the Canucks. So they answer back from that, that period where they had some holes defensively. They answer back, they get a couple more goals, and they shut the Rangers out for another period. In the third, though, the Rangers do get on the board about halfway through, and it's a failed clear by Travis Hamonic. Canucks are a little bit lazy getting the puck out of the zone. Eventually, it winds up on the stick of Hamonic. He has the easy play to go off the boards and out. He tries to force it up the middle instead. He fires it right at Mika Zibanejad, who holds the line. He feeds it across to Alexis Lafreniere, who scores to make it 4-1, and then they score again just about 4 minutes later. And this time it's Strome banging home a rebound, who got behind Luke Schenn. That's Luke Schenn's one job on that play is there's one guy near the net and the play's at the point. Your job is to clear the crease out, right? Keep that guy away from the net. So even if a shot gets through, it's an easy save, and any rebounds are gobbleable up. That's not a word, but Demko can corral them because there's no one crashing the net. That doesn't happen. Strome is able to whack away at it and score. So it's 4-2, and we're feeling a little bit nervous, but the Canucks hang on. The net's empty with 3 to play. Pettersson scores about a minute later. Nice little backhand from the other side of the blue line, and the Canucks take this one 5-2. Shots in the third period, 14-8 in favor of the Rangers. Overall, 34-33 in favor of the Canucks, so pretty even on the score clock. And honestly, I think it was a pretty even game. Like I said, the Rangers had more high danger chances early on, and it really could have had the game run away from them if it wasn't Thatcher Demko in net. But the Canucks hang on, and they play pretty well. An excellent second period, better than the Rangers' first period, and the third period was kind of score effects. Canucks sort of sat back on their heels and let the Rangers come to them while they were up 4, and they hung on for the 5-2 win. So as always, we get to my pluses and my minuses. The first plus, 3 straight wins for the Vancouver Canucks, who their playoff chances dipped all the way down to like 6%. They're on the rise a little bit right now. I think, did the Oilers win today? The Oilers lost in regulation today, so that's big for the Canucks because the Oilers hold that final wild card spot at the moment. Actually, I guess Dallas probably holds it right now as they got a win today. As far as I know, yeah, they beat Buffalo today. So the Canucks are in the mix still. They are now 4 games above 500, which if you had told us that on December 4th, we would not have believed you. And it's 5 wins out of their last 6. More importantly, right? The Canucks are going on a little bit of a run. Has this updated? I want to see. Yeah, the Canucks are 7-3 in their last 10. And that's basically the pace they're going to have to hold for the rest of the season if they want to make the playoffs. It's not going to be easy, but it's not completely impossible. The bigger plus, though, is Thatcher Demko. And we say this every time. He's had like 1 or 2 off nights this year. Tonight was not one of them. He was fantastic in the first period. And if I take a look here, I want to look at, so expected goals in the first period were 1.7 for the Rangers to about 1 for the Canucks. So 1.7 goals saved above expected in the first period alone. Expected goals for the entire game. The Rangers at 3.75 and the Canucks at 2.76. So the Rangers higher analytically, and it really comes out of those high danger chances. 19 for the Rangers, 10 for the Vancouver Canucks, even though of course these similar shots are similar. It's those high danger chances, getting into those dangerous areas around the Canucks. Down on the heat map, it is just dark red. But Thatcher Demko is absolutely phenomenal. And hey, you're allowed to have a good goalie, and the Canucks really do. And he is the biggest reason that the Canucks get the win tonight. He also got an assist on that Elias Pettersson goal, his 2nd of the year, his 3rd of his career, which is nice. Nice to see the goalies get recognized on the score sheet a little bit. Speaking of streaks, JT Miller has extended his point streak up to 6 games now, and in those 6 games, he has 13 points. So over 2 points a game over the last 6 games, 4 goals, 9 assists with his 2 assists tonight in the first period. Oh, and Elias Pettersson continues his streak as well, thanks to the empty netter. He has 4 goals and 7 assists, so 11 points in his last 5 games. So the 2 of them are on a tear right now. Again, Pettersson's was just an empty netter, but it counts. It still goes on the score sheet. And honestly, Pettersson and Miller both had really solid games tonight. And this was one of those sort of vintage Canucks games, right? Where you have JT Miller getting multiple points, which we've seen so often. We have the motto line, the Tyler Mott, Matt Highmore, and Juho Lammikko line just buzzing and being absolutely fantastic. You have Elias Pettersson drawing a penalty, which is always going to happen. And then you have Thatcher Demko being an absolute stud. And it's all of the sort of pieces work together for the Canucks, and they get goals from a bunch of unlikely players, right? Tanner Pearson, 10 goals this year, right? Probably on pace for about 17 goals. He doesn't score that often. Tyler Myers gets his 1st. Juho Lammikko gets his 6th. Highmore gets his 3rd. So honestly, the getting a lot of secondary scoring tonight when the top guys weren't able to get the puck in the net. So those are things that you'll take. Speaking of Elias Pettersson, that reverse hit on, I think it's Charlie Lindgren. Phenomenal. Love that. On the wall in the defensive, no, it was the offensive zone where he makes the reverse hit and then does a little deke basically through his legs. He's so back. I love it. And then my last plus is Tyler Myers. Tyler Myers had a good game tonight. I want to see how many minutes did he play? 21 minutes. So, Not a crazy night for him, but he gets the goal. He gets an assist on the Highmore goal, second assist, but he's a +2, 2 shots, 2 hits, 2 blocks. And he had that one really good defensive play in the Canucks zone. I think it was basically a breakaway opportunity, and he reached around with that 12-foot stick and smacked the puck away. Tyler Myers was great tonight. And if that's the Tyler Myers we see more often, I am very, very happy about it. I do have a couple of minuses, though. The Canucks let a lot of dangerous stuff go on in the first period. And like I said, it could have been a very different game if someone not named Thatcher Demko was in net for the Canucks. But they held tight and they held on. And my other minus, Luke Schenn. Travis Hamonic can be up there too, because I mentioned him on the bad giveaway to Zibanejad, and I don't think he was excellent. He didn't really stand out to me tonight. He was the only minus. No, him and Brad Hunt were the only minuses on the defense tonight. But Luke Schenn, he was showing his lack of foot speed tonight. There was 2 breakaway opportunities that he got beat on, and then he let Strome behind him on the second Rangers goal. I think he did get an assist though, which is good for him, but he got beat quite a bit in the defensive end. And only 3 hits. That's pretty low for Luke Schenn. Although that was the most on the team, but still it's low for Luke Schenn. All right. That's my thoughts on this game as my chair breaks on me. And now it's time to go to your thoughts. As always, we take your thoughts and your questions throughout here. So if you want to get those in, now is your chance. We're probably going to go for about 35 minutes tonight. I have work to do, so I'm going to be jumping off at a pretty reasonable time tonight. Debut Hunter going to lead us off. You're saying against the Flames, it was all stars who scored. And that is true. And in this game, it was Lamico again, Highmore, Pearson, and Myers getting a good mix across games lately. That is true. And that's something that you need to succeed, right? Because if you look at your best players, and let's say you have a few 30 goal scorers, well, on average, they score once every 3 games, right? So if you expect a guy like Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, Brock Besser to score every game, you're going to be disappointed. There's going to be games where none of them get on the score sheet, and Pettersson did with an empty netter, but you are going to need that secondary scoring to prop them up. And fortunately for the Canucks, they have that one line that seems to be so good defensively and then have these little these nights where they're just absolutely fantastic. And they were tonight. They were absolutely great tonight. Richard saying that Travis Hamonic almost gave the game away. That is a little fair. Manuel's being negative. I'm not even going to put that on screen. Jabe's saying, I'm impressed. Didn't think the Canucks would pull off another high-scoring game. Yeah, I mean, we look at... That's something I also didn't... that I wanted to mention, too. We look at the last few games for the Canucks. They have scored 4 goals or more in their last 5 games. They lost 7-4 to the Ducks a week ago. They beat the Kraken 5-2. They beat the Flames 7-1. And they beat the Rangers 5-2. So they have only allowed 5 goals in their last 3 games, which is great. And they have scored 17 in those last 3 games. So that is phenomenal for the Canucks. And just so you know, the Vancouver Canucks, for the first time, maybe all season, maybe they had it at the very beginning at some point, the Vancouver Canucks have a positive goal differential for the first time probably since October. They have 152 goals for, 151 goals against. The Elias Pettersson empty netter got them back on that side, which is absolutely excellent to see. Keep in mind, the Edmonton Oilers are only a +5, so, maybe in reach a little bit, at least in that mark. Kevin Punter saying that Miller is still undefeated against the Rangers. Well, maybe if he played for them, they would be undefeated too, but, they're going to have to pay a lot now. And it was funny that Lafreniere scored too in this game. Let's see here. Justin saying Canucks win 5 over last 6, including Toronto, Calgary, and the Rangers. Do we believe that is fair? Keep in mind, they got outplayed by Toronto. And this game was pretty even, and analytically would say that they got outplayed, although I think it was really just one period. And yeah, they blew the doors off of Calgary at the end of a 10-game winning streak. So don't get too ahead of yourselves, right? There's still games where they're not playing their absolute best. Keep in mind, the New York Rangers are one of the worst 5-on-5, not one of the worst, but they're not in like the top 15 of 5-on-5 teams. At least analytically, they get beat handily almost every game at 5-on-5. The difference for them is their goaltending, which is a big thing for the Canucks too, right? The Canucks are pretty decent at 5-on-5, terrible at special teams, and then their goaltender props them up. So it's very similar to the Canucks in a way where it's just fantastic goaltending, maybe giving a little bit more credence to the results of the team than they maybe deserve. But again, you are allowed to have a good goalie. But in my opinion, the thing is, like, if you look at the difference between Shesterkin for the Rangers and Georgiev for the Rangers, like, Shesterkin is legitimately in Hart Trophy conversations, and he should be, because if they had an average goalie there, and again, you look at their team on the analytical side, they are not that good. It just helps that they have like the third least goals against in the NHL, because they have a phenomenal goalie who's putting up a .940 save percentage, which would be the second greatest of all time if he's able to hold that through the rest of the season. Aisha saying that Myers had a great game today. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets the belt. I don't think they do the belt on the road, but maybe they do. But I don't think they do. But they should. So yeah, I'd say if I had to give it out tonight, again, Demko's going to get it eventually. Or did he get it last game? He got it last game, right? Yeah. So I think Tyler Myers probably deserves it tonight. I would think that would be fair. Justin saying almost a Gordie Howe hat trick. Yeah, and he had the opportunity. He had the last 25 minutes of the game. He just needed the fight, but he didn't get in one. Agam saying it's the hope that kills you. That is true. Canucks 1 point back of Anaheim, which is not the bar, but 3 off of Edmonton, 5 off of Vegas. That's the crazy thing. How Vegas started this season so poorly and then went on a huge run, and now they're falling apart again. And we can talk about all this cap circumvention stuff, like, oh, it just so happens that Mark Stone is out for the rest of the season when Eichel comes back, even though he just played the All-Star game. I mean, clearly Mark Stone is injured, and they would clearly love to have Mark Stone in the lineup right now, because they are bleeding, and they're falling further and further down the standings, right? 4 points off of the Vancouver Canucks, unless they're doing something tonight, and that's why you said 5. Vegas. Where's Vegas? No, they don't play tonight. The Canucks are only 4 points back of Vegas, which is crazy to say at this point of the season. It's not a great division. Let's see here. Agam saying, do you think the Canucks play Halak tomorrow? I feel like it's so important you got to play Thatcher. This is such a hard question. Because again, are you going to play Thatcher Demko 70 times this season? I don't think you should. However, he gives you the best chance to win night in, night out. When do they play after that? They have a couple days off after that. They play tomorrow, which is Monday, and then they play Thursday. And then they play Thursday, Saturday, and they had a few days off again. Demko faced a lot of high danger chances tonight. Like I said, 19 high danger chances, which is probably up there in the amount that the Canucks have allowed, like all year. I want to see if I can actually pull that up. If this website was better, can I just look at all of their games? No, I can't. Okay, I know I can. I just can't figure out how to do it. Oh, I can. Hold on. Everyone, hold on. I want to sort by high danger chances against. High danger chances against. Yeah, this was the most all season. Oh, that's only at 5-on-5. All strengths. High danger chances against. So this was tied for the 5th most all season high danger chances against for the Vancouver Canucks, which is not great. He faced 33 shots, stopped 31. But on the other hand, they have 2 days off after it. Then they play 2 games, 2 days apart, and then they have another few days off after that. If there was any time you could start a goalie on a back-to-back, per the schedule, this is one of the better times. However, New Jersey isn't that great, right? They lost 8-5 to Chicago on Friday, but they're on a couple of days of rest. So it's really hard. It's really hard. I bet they go Halak. I wouldn't hate them going Demko, though. It's a tough one. It is a really, really tough question. Let's see here. Gus saying, just got home in time to watch the 2 goals from the Rangers. Were the Canucks the better team throughout the game? I guess I'll go out during games more often. They were not the better team in the first period. They were the better team in the second period. And the third period was kind of a mess. But yeah, I think the Rangers were the better team for longer tonight. The Canucks just capitalized on more opportunities in this game. Kai saying Demko played amazing, but please let's get Elias Pettersson some real wingers. I love Höglander, but he barely plays more than 12 minutes. And Chason was okay, but he shouldn't be in the top 9. Petey needs to play more than 15 minutes. True. Yeah, 15-50 tonight for Elias Pettersson. 11-17 for Höglander and sub 10 minutes for Alex Chason. And I get why Chason's in the lineup. With Dickinson out, Chason is a good piece to put in. And they don't want to mess with the Mott line. But I still think what we saw from that Pettersson, Podkolzin, Höglander line, I think it worked pretty well. But then we're talking about sticking Chason with Horvat and Pearson, and that's kind of iffy. Pearson played well tonight. I don't know. It's tricky. The problem is you got to put Chason somewhere, and there's a couple of lines that you don't want to mess with. Although, yeah, I don't think he should be with Pettersson. So, I see why they put him there, but I don't think they should. I agree. Let's see here. Ducks are currently down 2-0 to the Islanders in the second period. Is that still true? Ducks, 2-0, end of the second. That is true. Agam saying, what more does Thatcher have to do to get a shutout? Well, tonight, make 2 more saves. And then the previous game, make 1 more save. So that's what he needs to do. Blitz saying suddenly we're only 6 points behind Vegas with saying other games played. Am I crazy? They're 4 points behind Vegas. Are you guys gaslighting me at this point? At least Google says they're 4 points behind. Okay, then he says suddenly we're 4 points behind. Okay. See, you're trying to mess with me. Austin Boss saying we need Anaheim to lose today, right? Well, not really. I mean, Anaheim shouldn't be the bar, right? Anaheim, if the Canucks are going to make the playoffs, Anaheim probably needs to be the 6th place team in the division. So Anaheim's not really the bar. And I don't think game 55 of the season is going to be the real difference maker. Nicole saying how many games are left? So the Canucks have played 54. They have 28 remaining. So we're about 2/3, basically right on the 2/3 mark of the season so far. And I'm saying, what's the Canucks team identity? The answer is goalie. True. Time for Hockey saying the John Pond line is so awesome. I fully agree. They were great. All right. Justin saying more evidence that shows you can't move Miller at the deadline. Maybe next deadline, but you owe it to the team to give them the shot at making it with JT leading the charge. I hate that I'm starting to sort of go on this road because again, they can trade him next year, but the problem is that, next year, are they closer and then they lose him for nothing in 2 years? That's kind of tough, right? However, I'm also of the mind that without JT Miller, this team is basically, they're dead in the water, which they kind of are anyways, right? So it's tricky. It's tricky. If you're trying to maximize value, it makes sense to trade him. If you want to go for a run, right? Canucks coming in tonight with an 11% chance at making the playoffs. And their odds to win this game were, at least for the Athletic, about 50-50, just below 50%. So, although that was expected with Shesterkin to be the starter. So either way, the Canucks will move up to like 13% if the Ducks lose and the Oilers lost already. That probably goes up a little bit more, right? They might be around the 15% mark after this game. So again, the trade deadline is still 3 weeks away, right? There is still time. You can make the decision 2.5 weeks from now. And you'll get hopefully a clearer picture of where this team is. Hopefully they either go on a run or they fall apart. And hopefully they're not still like 1 point out of the playoffs. Time for Hockey saying Horvat hasn't been very good. I don't think he has been the last couple of games. Tonight was not one of them. I think he might've been the only forward in the minus column. Yeah. Podkolzin was as well, but Horvat was a -2. The only goals he was on the ice for, were the 2 goals against, which is unfortunate, although neither of them were his fault, right? He just happened to be on the ice for them, but basically nothing going on really on the ice with him out there. Let's see here. What else do we got? Agam saying also that Bo, Brock, and Niels have been very underwhelming this year. the thing is, I don't think Höglander's been like bad. I think he's been kind of meh. And again, he's 20, 21, whatever. I'm not too worried, right? He had it again. If you take last year away and we say, oh wow, Niels Höglander came into the league, this year, and sure, he's not great, but he was a second round pick, right? Like we'd be pretty happy with how he's been, right? I mean, he's gonna only get like probably 28 points, something along those lines this year, which isn't great. But he overachieved last year, right? The thing is, yeah, Horvat hasn't been excellent, although I think I think as we get sort of into that playoff hockey, and I'm not saying they're making the playoffs, but I'm saying like as things get tighter and tighter towards the end of the season, I fully expect Horvat to sort of turn on that captain mode that he did in the bubble, hopefully. And then Besser's played very smart hockey this year. I don't think he's been, he's not been sort of his full self, right? He's not like ripping a bunch of pucks. But he does play the game at a very high level. He's very smart, and I think he creates a lot of opportunities for the team. Dimitri's big plus is that the Canucks are a positive goal differential. That is a good sign. Fangirl saying, I'm glad we beat the Rangers. Do we think we beat the Leafs on Saturday? Man, the Leafs are so good. They scored 10 goals last night. Sure, they allowed 7, but they scored 10 goals last night. The problem for them is goaltending right now. Jack Campbell was off to an unbelievable start in the season, and he has fallen off a cliff in the last 3 months. Which really gives the Canucks opportunities against teams like that. Because if they can score a bunch of goals, they have a goalie who can stop a bunch of goals, ideally. But I think they'll get outplayed by the Leafs, and I think their goaltending might bail them out. That's the Canucks win condition in that game. Registrar just wants a Höglander goal. That is fair. Karsten, are you confident with Halak in net tomorrow? No, I'm not. And that's nothing against Halak. He has been a fine backup goalie. The problem is he is so streaky, right? He'll have a game where he'll be lights out, or he'll have a game where he'll allow 3 early and then be lights out. He seems to, I think if the Canucks survive the first period without allowing a goal, then he'll be great. I think he really needs to, I think he's used to being a starter. That I think he's cold, right? He comes into these games that he hasn't played in 3 weeks, and he looks shaky for the first period, and then he usually settles it out. So as long as the Canucks are still in this game after the first period, I think they're fine. But again, I wouldn't hate seeing Demko in net tomorrow, to be 100% honest. Agam saying, any thoughts on the Canucks having the lowest goals against average in the league since Bruce came in? I didn't know that. That's crazy. Does it seem like there's any change in the defense? The defense is playing a little bit better, but again, I think goaltending has been better. The Canucks 5v5 play has been pretty similar to how it was before. A big difference has been penalty killing has improved in some ways, but also like underlying numbers wise, it hasn't. However, their goaltending has gotten better on the penalty kill, which is great. I don't know if that's true. That doesn't sound true because I feel like the Canucks allow a lot of goals, but hey, it might be. They have won a lot of games in the last few months, so it could be. Shannon saying, do you think they should play Demko in the 3 more road games? You only play Demko in the hard and good teams. So I think you play him every time you can. Just back to backs are a little iffy. But if you play him tomorrow, you're playing him in all the games, right? The Canucks don't have another back-to-back until March 19th, March 20th. So if that Halak trade is still something the Canucks are wanting to do, if they play Demko tomorrow, they can go another 3 weeks without doing it. Again, I don't know if that's still on the table. I don't think he wants to waive his no move. And if there's any team you want to put Halak in against, New Jersey might be it. Again, they've been scoring quite a bit lately. They put up 6 on the Penguins, 5 on the Blackhawks, 7 on the Habs, 7 on the Blues. Like they've been scoring a lot of goals over the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But they're not a great team. And so if that's a team that you want to, they've only won 18 games this year. They're the bottom of the Metro. The only team worse than them is Buffalo and Ottawa in the East. So maybe that's an opportunity, but also you maybe say, hey, maybe it's not going to be a lot of shots against, so maybe just play Demko anyways. Let's see here. Justin saying that they do the belt on the road, they just don't show it. Okay. They got to get that social media game up. Let's see what else we got. Justin saying, I feel like Highmore, Mont, and Lemico will get more opportunities to get the belt. Well, Lemico has already had it. You give it to Myers for a strong game, and because he's unlikely to get it again. Well, that's not a great reason, but okay, that is fair. Lalji, Farhan Lalji saying, Boudreaux said in all likelihood Halak starts tomorrow. In all likelihood, that means it's still up in the air, but probably. Hello, King Kino. Welcome. King Kino says, thanks all. Hope we make the playoffs. Times for the Ducks and Oilers to lose. I agree. You know, the playoffs would be so fun. Think of how fun these would be if the Canucks are winning playoff games. You know, we get 500 people in here again, like we did against that one Blue Jackets game. That would be sweet. Hey, we're at 200 in here tonight though. So thank you guys very much for hanging out. Emmett saying, I find Hamonic does a lot of turnovers. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. They actually didn't credit him with a giveaway tonight, which is crazy because he sure had one. Ryan saying, if we kept the squad together, at least the main pieces, do you think this is a playoff team next year with a whole season under this management? I think it's probably a playoff team. And remember, we thought this team was a playoff team coming in, right? Coming into the season, and they heavily underperformed. Their top players were all slumping except JT Miller. Demko was the only real bright spot. And now they have new coaching, new management. They're playing better. I think they are worse than their record shows for the last 3 months. I think they are better than they were for the first 3 months, right? We're about 6 months. Are we 6 months in the season? Yeah, we are. 5 months, I guess. Yeah, 5 months into the season, whatever. The first 2 months were bad. So I think this is probably a playoff team, right? Maybe a team that's squeaking into the playoffs, which is what we thought this team was going to be at the start of the season. And I think that's kind of fair. The problem is they have no prospects really coming up. They don't have a lot of draft capital, right? They don't have any reason to get better, right? They don't have any upward trajectory. If this is the team, then this is the team. So you can keep them together. You can probably be in the playoff conversation again next year, but that's not the goal, right? The goal is to win the cup. And again, I don't think this is the team that's doing that. I think there's some big changes that need to be made. I don't know if you want to just write another year off and not work towards that as everyone gets another year older. JT Miller hits unrestricted free agency, things along those lines. So I think they probably are in the conversation though, to answer your question. Let's see here. Edmund saying, I love how PD continues his point streak. He made it close to 66 points again. Yeah, what is he at now? Because he got his 17th goal of the season. So he's at 38 points in 54 games, which is what? 38 times 54 divided by 82. Nah, I did that wrong. 82 over 54. So that's a 58 point pace. So that's not like a great season for Pettersson, right? But it's not like tragically bad considering how bad it started, right? He's putting up some great numbers right now. And if he can keep that up, then yeah, maybe he does get close to that 66 point mark, right? If he's able to be, close to a point per game player like he was in his first 3 seasons, basically, for the remainder of the season, which doesn't seem like too hot a take, that's another 28 points, which would get him to what? 66 on the money? Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Brad Clarkson saying the big plus is Demko's contract. What a steal for a few more years. You're not wrong, Brad. That is a stupid cheap contract. 4 more years at $5 million a year for a goaltender who's going to be probably on the outskirts of Vezina conversations for those few years, right? Like if he's a top 10 goalie, which he clearly is for the next few years, right? Sure, he might not win Vezinas, right? There's guys like Shesterkin out there, and there's a bunch of really good goalies in the league, right? Vasilevsky's still a thing. But if you have a guy who's in the conversation, maybe getting a couple votes every year, you are in a really good spot, especially at a $5 million cap hit. Agam saying, are you willing to shell out 7.5 to Brock after this season? So that would be the 1-year qualifying offer. It is not the minimum the Canucks can offer him. So what they can do is they could negotiate now, right? And they could say, hey, instead of because that 7.5 would be for 1 year, right? So they could say, hey, we'll give you 5 years at 6.5 or 6, right? I don't know what the number would be. You offer a longer term. And then if he hasn't signed by July 1, or it's like, yeah, I guess July 1, June 30th, maybe it is. I don't know exactly when it is this year, if it's got moved around like it had last year. Then you have to qualify him to prevent him from becoming an unrestricted free agent. So you'd have to offer him that 1 year at $7.5 million. But he doesn't have to accept it. You could then still go and say, okay, well, you're still an unrestricted, you're still a restricted free agent, and we're going to keep talking around maybe this 6-year, 5-year deal that we have in the works for you. Because if I'm Brock Besser, maybe he would rather have, some more like 5 years at a lower number than 1 year at the higher number, right? So they have to offer him 1 by 7.5. And if that's what Brock Besser wants, then that's what he can get. Otherwise they can still negotiate other things. They don't have to give him 7.5. Let's see here. Cordell, I think that's a new name in here, saying it's great to see some periods of the game we're playing the right way to carry momentum. It still baffles me when things change like parts of the third. Yeah, hockey's a very momentum-driven game, and the analytics community will tell you momentum doesn't exist and things like that, and there's a lot of things I agree with the analytics community on. That's not one of them. And again, that might be very broad generalization on my part, but still, yeah, it is crazy seeing how things shift from period to period, right? The Rangers dominated the first, the Canucks dominated the second, the Rangers were a bit of the better team in the third. But the Canucks won because of that second period for the most part, because it kept the Rangers off the board and it created a 4-0 lead. Yeah, things swing a lot in games. And I mean, we had that game where the Canucks were down 5-0 to the Ducks and they scored 4 goals in the third period, right? Things are crazy in this league. I mean, last night, or was it last night or 2 nights ago, the Leafs, I think it was last night. Yeah, the Leafs were up 7-2 and they almost lost. It is a fun sport. Branny saying, I'm not sure if you noticed, the Canucks are now +1 goal differential. I did call that out. Thank you though. Let's see here. Jason saying, any prospects have your attention other than Rathbone? No, not really. The other names that you could bring up are like Klimovich. Again, I thought he was good in training camp. I'm not projecting him to be a second line player though. He has a shot though. Everyone sort of overvalues prospects and I'm very guilty of that. So I'm trying to be a little bit more level headed. Linus Karlsson is tearing it up in the Swedish league right now, right? He might be able to step in late in the season. If the Canucks are on a playoff push late in the season, they can sign a guy like Linus Karlsson on a cheap contract and have him come up. He's got 19 goals in the Swedish league this year. His first year, or I guess his sort of second year in the SHL. He's been great up there. He could be a good depth piece, sort of in that final push. Well, that's kind of it, right? Jordan saying, is Horvat still going to be the captain in 7 years? If he is still here, yeah, I don't think they're stripping him of the captaincy, or anything like that. I think we'll take a couple more. I'm kind of on a roll here right now. Cordell also saying more speed and effort you need to take the next step. Yeah, there is a lot of slow players. Got to stock the covers, not get caught up in this season or next. That's fair. And again, that's sort of the drum I've been banging over the last couple months. But again, I like fun hockey. So, people, you can dangle the playoffs in front of me and I get excited. I'm like, let's okay. Give playoffs. Let's play playoff game. Although that might be silly. It's easy for me to, I want to see fun hockey. I'm tired. I'm tired of losing. Mr. Andy on the same boat, for sure. Anything else that I want to take here? Let's see. Agam also calling out Aiden McDonough. That is a good point. I didn't think of him. But again, like these are guys that in other systems, they're not a top 5 prospect probably, right? Maybe McDonough is, but still it's the Canucks haven't been drafting a lot lately, right? They've been trading a lot of picks. And that's just how it works. Matt's saying that the coach gave Podkolzin some love post game. I'm glad to hear that. I think Podkolzin played a pretty solid game tonight. He was grinding. He was throwing the body around a little bit. I don't know if he got credited with any hits. He got credited with Podkolzin 1 hit. I just noticed him working hard tonight. So I think it was a pretty solid game. RP saying that Bruce said Halak is in net next game. How do I think he'll do? Again, I said earlier, if the first period goes well, I think he'll do great. I think he's a very good second and third period goalie. And I think he has really shaky starts that have had some issues for this team. Marjorie's saying, am I planning on going to any games the next couple of weeks? I never plan to go to games. I usually decide to go to them day of, like 4 o'clock. I'll just look at tickets. If they're cheap and I want to go, I'll go. So I have nothing planned, but they do play quite a few home games over the next couple of weeks. And with that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you guys very much for joining. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Canucks play the Devils at 4:30. So again, about a 7 o'clock start for the show tomorrow night. Thank you for those who subscribed and who have joined. Some new faces in here tonight. Hit that like button if you haven't already. And there's a membership option down below. Shout out to all of my members. As always, I do appreciate all of you a ton. And with that, I'm going to wrap up by saying thank you very much. I think I already said that. But have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow.